He's an actor and already a producer. With a solid background in musical theatre, he graduated from the University of Michigan. He plays guitar and sings, and his acting career began in 2017 at the age of 21, on stage and in television series. But it was the Gilded Age that brought him into the spotlight. A deep dive into New York high society at the end of the 19th century, in which he plays Jack, a young, loyal and curious footman, an observant witness to the tensions between old and new money. Aujourd'hui, nous nous mettons dans les pas de Ben Ahlers. Do you understand what I just said?
I understood my name.
You understood, yeah.
Before that.
So basically, you know this podcast called Dans les pas de.
Okay.
Can you guess what it means? It's in the footsteps of.
In the footsteps of.
Exactly.
Love that.
You'll learn some French today.
Yeah. I'm picking up a little bit of my, remembering my ballet classes at musical theatre school.
Really?
Did you say pas de?
Pas de.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's such a pleasure, honestly, to have you here today with us in Paris. So thank you for joining us. Is the jet lag okay?
I woke up very early today and just
bet.
took in a nice early morning French sunrise.
Is it your first time in Paris?
Second. I came here last summer. I feel more familiar now, so I get to enjoy it a bit more.
And last time when you came, did you discover a bit like Paris? Did you walk around?
Yeah. I've certainly hit the Louvre. Just wandered around. I mean, you're walking through history in a city like this, so it's easy to get lost in the best way.
And do you feel like there's something about Paris that is different creatively, for example?
That's a good question. New York is so fast paced. It's so dynamic in a way that can be very exciting and inspiring, but it can also be very exhausting. I think you can find a lot of your creative flow in a slower place of discovery. And I think, smoking cigarettes and drinking a glass of wine midday at a cafe is a great place to hear the whispers of whatever is trying to speak through you.
You need to also try some French food. Have you tried anything like from the French cuisine that you like? Yeah,
we had snails last night that I don't remember. It wasn't escargot. It was something else that I meant to Google. But we're going to have our steak and fries later today.
A classic.
Yeah, of course.
A classic. So if we go back a little, last week in New York, you were in New York for the premiere. Well, you live in New York.
Yeah.
So you were there also for the premiere of season 3 of The Gilded Age. It's really the series that brought you into the spotlight. Yeah. And we'll come back to that, but just tell me, how was the premiere? How was it?
It was out of this world. We've been working on this show for almost 6 years now. I auditioned for it 6 years ago, and because of the pandemic and because of the actor-writer strike in the United States, we never got to celebrate season 1 or 2 with a big party. And so our cast is also so big. We have 25 staple characters, roughly. And so many of them I haven't even met because we kind of keep to our little bubbles on set. And so it was a really, really great time to finally be able to toast our hard work and celebrate what I think is our best season yet. I think we've really found our stride, and we have such a loyal base of fans, but also I know that the buzz is kind of trickling out, and so I think we're going to get a lot of newcomers as well. And so it felt very fitting to get to send our baby off into the world for everybody to see.
I'm really excited to see the new season, honestly.
It's so cool now because I think in streaming, people are so used to binging content and watching everything in one sitting, but to have appointment television like this where people have to wait and the cliffhangers actually mean something, it feels right for a show like this. So.
And did you meet also like at the premiere some of your fans or people?
Yeah. There were some folks outside outside Tribeca and outside the after party. And coming from a theater background, it's taken a little bit of adjusting to creating work that you're not there to receive the feedback in real time. Like people are just in their homes on their couches with their family.
It's very different from like theater and.
So being able to see how excited they are is very affirming, because for the most part we're just kind of we're also just at home, hoping that people are enjoying it.
Yeah.
So.
And was it your first premiere?
I've been to, it was our first premiere of Gilded Age, but earlier this year I got to go to the premiere of The Last of Us in Los Angeles. I have a small arc on that, and that was the first time I'd ever been to a proper like Hollywood close out the block at the Chinese theater in Hollywood and see how big and grand it can all be. So it's been
you grew up in Iowa, which isn't really the heart of the film industry. Was it always the dream to kind of end up in Hollywood or on the big screens in these kind of cities?
I would say I'm not sure what it's like in France for people from a more rural background, but New York and Los Angeles weren't really real places to me. They were kind of like these fantasy lands that I'd like heard about on television. And so I never really dreamed of going there. I actually just fell in love with my community of artists where I grew up. And I think that that's really helped me because it was really just about the work. It wasn't necessarily about the
place and the
success or the level or and I think that's probably the way you do your best work is to just make it about the work. And so now that, I started to meet people as I grew up, and when I was a teenager, we finally went to New York and I saw the Phantom of the Opera on Broadway, and my family went to the Central Park Zoo. And I'm not a big fan of zoos. We don't have to get into it, but I was 13, 14 years old, and I took a cup from a hot dog stand and set it down and just sang in Central Park, and people gave me a few dollars. And so I made my first buck in New York when I was like 14. And so then kind of from then on, I started to see there was a magnetism to the city that I wanted to be a part of. And so then it was certainly on my radar from then on. Yeah.
And you often describe yourself as a farm boy.
My community would laugh at that.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
My grandparents lived on a farm, and I would spend my parts of my summer there. I was a city kid to them.
Really?
Yeah, completely. I didn't grow up on a farm, but I come from people that cultivated the earth and made ends meet and raised big families. And I do think that my time on the farm with my grandparents was the place where I found my imagination, because they're just such wide open spaces, and you're kind of bored with the freedom, so you have to kind of make your own games and make your own little worlds. And so I attribute a lot of my artistic roots to that environment. But no, I was a city boy, small town city boy.
Small town city boy, yeah. But how does it feel now? Because I feel like, so you kind of also grew up in a farm then with your grandparents, and it's such a contrast with the life that you're living. The
contrast is stark regardless of the environment I grew up in.
So that's why. How do you still carry that kind of farm boy vibe, if I can say, to your life today? Yeah,
I'll hug a tree if I need to, put my bare feet on grass just to reconnect to the land. I think Iowa has a much more intimate relationship to the weather, right? Because when it rains, you know that your crops are going to get watered, and when it's dry, it actually matters. Yeah. And so I try to stay as close to nature as I possibly can. But they're also just such hardworking, community-oriented people, and so when I'm at my healthiest in the city is when I'm seeing the same people consistently, my friends and my colleagues, and nurturing a little bubble in such a massive city. And I'm successful at that sometimes, I'm not in other times. And
it takes time also to just find it's all about balance, but it's really hard also to kind of find the good balance between social life, work.
Especially in a city, in an industry that's so dynamic.
Exactly.
I think one of the benefits of a smaller town is there's a simplicity there. There's a rhythm there that you can rely on when life gets tough. And so when you're, flying to Paris for a week, you have to find those kind of internal rhythms and structures to maintain yourself.
And you were talking about how it's important sometimes for you to get bored to be creative. How do you find that time, for example, in New York, Is it by hugging trees? Is it by just being creative in the park, having a notebook where you write all your ideas?
Yeah.
How does it work to find some boredom in this city that always moves?
Yeah, that's a great question. Moving to Brooklyn really helped.
Okay.
It's just a couple clicks slower. I lived in the city and it was great, but you're just getting pulled in every direction. I walk a lot, like, going on a 45-minute to 2-hour walk. And sometimes you listen to music and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
And, you just work through stuff. I also try to carve out as much quiet time in the morning. I try to avoid my phone for as long as possible. Because I think you have a fresh, how would I say it? Every morning you wake up with kind of like a blank computer internet tab.
Completely, yeah.
And then throughout the day, you're starting to open up folders and folders and folders. And then by the end of the day, you're so clogged up. So I try to honor that blank slate.
But I feel like it's so difficult with our generation now because we're always stuck on our phones.
And to have an opinion, to actually have a voice.
Exactly.
And to know what you actually want to say, you do have to stop listening as much to other people. And that's never been harder. And so I have to, I'm obviously not any more, I'm not more successful than anybody else, but it's definitely on my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And going back to the Gilded Age,
Yeah.
So you play Jack, which is a young footman, navigating the tensions between the old and the new well. So how did you land that role?
Yeah. There's a casting office in New York City called Telsey and Company, run by Bernie Telsey. And one of their casting directors, Adam Caldwell, actually found me in school and gave me my first job at the Williamstown Theater Festival with playing Matthew Broderick's son in a play. Actually based off of the French movie Les Placards.
Oh, yeah.
We did the American theatrical adaptation of that movie.
Okay.
And I played the son. And they were also, Adam was also casting with Bernie, The Gilded Age. And so I'd done Williamstown and I'd done a few gigs and was in LA for a play. And I came back to New York and auditioned for a different role and it wasn't the right fit. And then they called me in a couple months later for Jack and went through the rounds there and got the job in the fall of 2019. We were supposed to start March 3rd of 2020. The world shut down. But we always knew we were going to come back. And so we worked all through the pandemic. And HBO is the creme de la creme when it comes to content. And I've been wanting to work with them for, as soon as I knew that I wanted to be an actor. And but to be able to do this play alongside the theater icons of New York has been the most exciting part of the experience because I grew up listening to these people sing on cast albums, and I am such a theater person at heart, and to get to kind of represent both worlds through this show and learn from them in almost like a graduate program has been, a dream come true.
And was Jack someone who you connected with directly?
Yeah, I mean, Jack is from the downstairs staff of a very ordinary home, and he looks across the street every morning to railroad money building a mansion that unlike anything he's ever seen before. And he's young and he's hungry and he wants something of his life, and he has a Target there across the street. And coming from a smaller town in America, I certainly could relate to that sense of desire and excitement and hope and doubt in my place in the world. But what was nice about Jack was that he had an optimism, playfulness, a gratitude for his surroundings and the people that he worked with that I learned a lot from. I think in the industry you can get very insecure and competitive and
lost
and you miss you miss the kind of excitement of where you're at right now. And I think what was so cool to learn from Jack was that you can want and you can strive and you can be happy with where you're at. You don't have to be discontent in order to pursue something. And so to have him with me over the last 5 years as the show's gotten bigger and as, life's gotten different in certain ways, he's been a really exciting like anchor and mirror to that process. I was just kind of like, what would he do in this?
And there's also such a historical context in this show. I think you worked with historians on set. Is that right?
Yeah, we had a historian from the very beginning, and then with the clock stuff, I worked with the Horological Society of New York and learned how to take apart a clock and build a clock. And
how is this kind of immersion important for your process and to get really into that series and to get into your character?
Especially on television, because you don't have a lot of time. There's very little rehearsal, and there's a lot to get done. And so you really have to you have to churn through the scenes very quickly when it's your turn. And, but you also want to make this person as alive and well-rounded and interesting as you can. So they've been absolutely fundamental. Same with our like dialect coach, which has been so important for the world building. The production design from Bob Shaw is like so.
We honestly don't realize most of the time when we look at series or anything, the amount of people working behind scenes.
Oh my God.
And training you also as actors on set. And
all of the work is done for us in that imaginative space, right? We get to walk into the 1880s.
Yeah.
And so having that kind of cultural understanding is what you're speaking to. Like how do you shake someone's hand?
Exactly.
What side of the plate do you put the fork on, right? Everything that's ever made is a miracle. The fact that it's good is kind of just like a cherry on top, given how ridiculous it is to create something, especially something so big.
Yeah.
That when you see the effort and skill of your colleagues, it's a very motivating force. So.
I bet. And also, so we're talking about history. You've said that growing up, you watched the History Channel rather than cartoons.
Yeah.
Why is that? Since you were a kid,
My dad controlled the remote.
Oh, so you didn't really have a choice.
Yeah.
But do you love history? Is that something you're really interested in, or?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, that's why I love being in Paris. It's like just feel like I'm walking through history. I think it's really hard in our modern world not to get very self-centered, and I think a lot of suffering comes from that, and I really struggle with that, I think, just like anybody else. And to have an appreciation for the what you're a part of in this grand dance that we call life. And it's also obviously super important to know what we're trying to rectify from our past, what we've lost that we want to regain. Having some sort of stake in contributing to this world, given the sacrifices of the people who came before us. I think we can better align ourselves with what future we're trying to build by having a closer understanding of the past. And it's also just really interesting.
Exactly.
It's just some epic people who've walked this earth inside.
Yeah.
And you can steal a lot. Like Marcus Aurelius' Meditations reads just as relevant today, So, yeah.
And so you started acting in 2017?
So I went to school the fall of 2015. I got to Michigan for musical theater.
Okay.
The play with Matthew, the Le Placard, the closet in
Le Placard.
Le Placard.
Exactly. Got it.
You corrected me as much as you need to. Was in 2018.
Okay.
That's when I joined the union and got my manager and my agent and all of that. So that's 2018.
And how do you think the Gilded Age kind of changed you as an actor, or even just as a person?
Yeah, I mean, to have a steady job, especially in such a dynamic time in the industry, I think has given me a footing that I can't express enough gratitude for. To have a familiarity with my colleagues and have, some of my best friends have come from the Gilded Age has been so fortifying.
Do you think it's kind of like a turning point or like a real shift also in your career, or?
It's very affirming to be on a show of such caliber, such a high caliber, with those people. And so, yeah, there's certainly like the kind of the turning point in terms of like the, you know, the Instagram or the opportunities of it all, but on the like the internal side, to like really have belief in myself. That was definitely a kind of a cosmic shift. Yeah.
And you also once said acting helps you see the beauty in strangers. And I find that so powerful. How do you, like, is that something to bring back kind of into your everyday life?
I suffer when I feel separate. When I feel separate from my environment, or separate from myself, or separate from the people that I'm walking this earth with. And I think when you can recognize that they're all every single one of us is on an epic journey of some sort, and we all have a beautiful romance novel, a beautiful tragedy poem. Like we're all just walking art pieces. It creates a sense of intimacy that feels safe to me somehow, and also just, you know, magnificent and extraordinary. Yeah, especially when you go to a foreign country and you just see all the people like living over here. You know, it's very
that we're all
humbling.
on the same planet and still living the same life.
It's also so humbling. It's like, get out of your own head. Like you're just you're another one of us, everyone else.
Exactly. And so you've performed on stage and on screens. Do you kind of approach these two worlds differently? Or is it the same process?
Yeah, I mean, so when you're rehearsing for a theater show, you have, the last one I just did, we had like a 4-week rehearsal process, and there's a lot of time to play around, and there's a lot of time to make mistakes and try different versions of it to see what kind of sticks and what you want to pull in the final product, which also doesn't exist, because then you run the play, right?
Exactly.
And every night is completely different. And so that sense of like anarchy actually to the present moment of creation is really exciting. On the TV and film side of things, it is, you know, it's a bit more technical, because we're all working towards something. The lighting's working towards something. The director has a picture in mind, and it's your job to fit that picture. And so
it's less freedom, you'd say?
I love the freedom on stage, because when, you know, the curtain's up, whatever I do happens. But there's something about the collaboration and the vision of a good writer or a good director, or the point of view of a brilliant DP, that makes me feel like I'm a part of a bigger whole, because my performance is made in the edit. I could be given what I think is the performance of a lifetime, and the camera's on you.
Yeah.
The entire thing. You know, it's also liberating in a weird way. Yeah, but they're definitely, drastically different.
And what do you love most about performing on, like, live on stage? What's your favorite thing?
The exchange with the audience, you know, hearing them laugh in real time, and maybe they laughed harder yesterday, or they didn't laugh at all today, and like riding that wave. I'm a terrible surfer, and I don't really feel the need to try it again. But it feels like what I think surfing is to surfers, is that it's just a different wave every night. It demands presence in a way that is very clear.
And are there any directors on screen or on stage that you would really love to work with?
Yeah, I'd love to work with Yorgos. He's just so courageous and weird, and I think actors have a lot more range in them than people really give them credit for. We're all freaks, and I think Yorgos lets the freak out in a way that's just really attractive as an actor. It's a good question. I would love to work with Sam Mendes. I mean, he's one of the greatest theater directors we have alive right now, and his work, The Ferryman, I saw that 4 times in New York. It's like a 3.5-hour play. I saw it 4 times.
Why do you love it so much?
I just didn't know. I was just like holding my breath the whole time. It was like the first time I ever saw a play that like confused me so much and made me like really reflect in a way. And so I want to be a part of something with someone who can curate that experience. You know. But there's just endless genius out there. So I'm also I think doing. I'm very pro doing. I love working with new people. I love working with people who surprise me, and so I'm open to a name I don't even know yet. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I looked into your work, I've discovered that you're writing and you're also producing.
Yeah, so I produced a play last fall that I also acted in, and it tore me in half. I mean, it was the hardest thing I've ever done, and I think it would have been hard. The play was difficult anyway, and so I think if I was just wearing one of those hats, it would have probably been the toughest challenge of my career. But to do both was irresponsible, to be honest. But
you didn't sleep at all for
no,
a while.
I was like waking up like.
Yeah.
I couldn't move in the morning because I was like so tight with stress, but also I'm young enough that I think that was the time to do that. I also think that the creative act is actually so accessible to us, and it's important to like remind yourself of that. And so I think producing especially is a really important act for anybody to try, just to see how far can you take something, and then once you don't know what to do, can you go find somebody who can help you. To me, that's what producing is. And so that was a great affirmation that I knew I could do that. On the writing side of things, I'm finding that as an actor, I'm oftentimes saying other people's words, and I'm resonating with what I can connect with, but it's coming from somebody else's heart, and I wanted to know what was in mine, and so a lot of my stuff is writing for my own enjoyment. But there's a lot of stuff that I want to see made that I don't see being made, and so finding the right collaborators to write a film script or a TV pilot or something is a great way to remind yourself again of that agency you have to create something. So
when we were talking about writing, you also sing, you play guitar and all of that. How's music so important for you? So on a daily basis, you also write and...
Yeah, I mean, similar to the writing, I think your soul is trying to express something, and we were given a singing voice for a reason. All of us did, and so I know I'm at my best when I'm singing as much as possible, purely for my own enjoyment. How I want to share that with the world, I don't know yet.
Do you think you'll release one day some songs, or?
I would love to have the courage, belief to do that.
Yeah.
I would love to do a musical at some point, because that was where my foundation was and how I started this whole thing. And so it's very, very difficult. And I'm learning that from my friends and colleagues. It's like that is, to me, the hardest thing I could imagine doing is probably a musical. That's somehow a steeper hill to climb. It feels the most vulnerable of the art forms, is to like write about your heartbreak, and share it. But it's also why it's, to me, maybe the coolest one, is that we get to connect so closely to these universal experiences through song, and it brings people together in a way that nothing else does. And so, in some shape or form, I'm gonna try to do that. I just don't know when yet.
So we're talking about musical plays, etc. Do you feel like everything you do is part of one bigger creative journey?
Yeah. I think I'm trying to find every color in myself that wants to express what it wants to express. I think it's my job to just be the steward for that. It's why I do really love this new venture into fashion and the excellence of a company like Berluti, where it's like I find clothing to be almost a magnet to parts of yourself that want to come out and play.
Yeah.
And So in whatever form of creative act, I think you're touching on a different note, a different instrument in yourself. And so I do find it to be kind of like one big journey that I'm not really sure where it's going.
Yeah.
I also don't really need to know. I kind of want to stay out of the way and let my desire pull me. Mm-hmm. Expressing myself and stretching myself, surprising myself, and to surround myself with people who help facilitate that.
And who inspires you also, probably.
Completely.
Yeah. And do you have anyone that really, truly inspires you into creatively, or it could be even just your family or anyone?
My little sister is really inspiring. She's 16 years old, and she's the best. We're a family of 5.
How is it to be the big brother of...
It's tough. It's tough. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. Not to screw it up, not to model bad behavior, to also like pursue my dreams and be as invested in the family as I can be. That's always been a difficult balance, talking about that disparity in lifestyle between New York and Paris and Fort Dodge, Iowa, where I'm from. I'm still learning how to show up in both worlds in the way that I want to. But Jillian, the youngest, is the best of all of us. And she has a level-headedness and a wit and a sense of peace and groundedness that I really appreciate. On the creative side of things, I've really looked up to Ethan Hawke. I think Ethan is so prolific in his artistic expression. He's written several books and songwriter and phenomenal actor.
Yeah, he's very versatile.
Hasn't put himself in a box.
I think also talking about theatre, I just wanted to know, I think you started theatre when you were really young. Mm-hmm. How did it all started? Was it, I think your mother was taking you to her rehearsals, is that right? Instead of like having a babysitter? Yeah. How was that as a kid?
Yeah, I mean, it was great tagging along. I loved my mom. And she was the most incredible singer. Her and my aunt, her sister, just this like crazy duo. She was like the leads of the musicals in town in the community theater, and so I would tag along. And I was 6, and I was shocked at like watching adults play pretend.
Performance, yeah.
And I didn't realize that felt rebellious to me.
And you like that directly?
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely. I didn't know I could do it for a living by any means, but at the time it was just so much fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've been trying to follow the fun as much as I can.
Yeah.
Or organize my life around that. Yeah.
Today, so we're talking about who inspires you. What kind of values matter most to you today? It's a really hard question.
That is a really tough question.
Yeah.
Kindness, certainly. Everything's a lot easier when you're kind. I think, I'm trying to be as grateful as I can, because I think, again, you can get lost in what's next, or you can get lost in what's wrong. And so I'm just trying to be as present and appreciative of how great this experience and this ride has been over the last 7 years or so. I feel like that's going to keep my feet on the ground, to try to make the world just a bit more interesting and shimmery and weird and fun. And I think that's our job. That's literally the definition of an artist.
And do you feel like you were talking about being weird and all of that? Do you think now that you have kind of this public figure, sometimes you have to keep that weirdness just when you're at home, for example, or do you still feel pretty free to just be yourself? It's
hard to know how public of a figure you are, right? Because again, you don't know who's watching the show. So that's like a weird consideration to have at all. And like when I walk away from this conversation, I'll be asking myself, like, how much did I bring of my full self?
Exactly.
I'm still learning.
And I guess you're still also learning who you are, because
you're learning who you are. You're also learning what you want to share, mm-hmm. what you're good at sharing, right? Like, I don't think I'm certainly much weirder in my private life.
Yeah.
I'm very nostalgic for like the punk rock 80s and 90s interview, the actor interviews, and our leading men were so scary and dangerous. And I think in the modern world, because everything's so magnified, I think it can be really easy to hide and try to curate. And I'm still learning what that means for me. I'm a very earnest person, and I don't think I really hide that. So
That's a good quality, honestly.
I'll say that I brought that to the table today. Yeah.
And so we were talking about values. Is there a message or something bigger that you hope to share through your work?
I think a lot of our suffering comes from trying to morph our identity into something that was dictated to us by our parents or by our culture or by just trauma or whatever. And so I'm trying to rebel against that impulse and hopefully contribute to that rebellion culturally, which is to, just let it all into the space. It's so much more interesting when you can admit that you're sad. And so I'm trying to do that as confidently and consistently and kind and earnestly.
No, but literally.
So.
And talking about being your real self, how do you express it in terms of your style and how you dress up?
Yeah.
And is it also something important for you, do you think?
Completely.
It really?
Yeah. I mean, I love dressing. That is a part of me that I love to express. I think there's something so immediate about wearing the right fit for the right moment.
And when we're talking also about clothing, we talk also about costumes.
Yeah.
Especially, in theatre. How does it help you to kind of get into your character also?
Yeah, costuming is one of the top of the list behind the language on who the character is. And I, especially early on in the process, I try to just be very when I try on the costume for the first time, it's a very big moment to see how it makes you feel, how it makes you stand, where your voice sits. If I was wearing different clothes today, I don't know. I think my voice might sound a bit different. I don't know. It's kind of like magic. It's a very weird dance that happens with what you decide to put on.
Yeah. And for the premiere, so you were wearing Berluti. Do you know how to pronounce Berluti, by the way, in French?
Berluti.
Berluti.
Berluti. Berluti.
Berluti. Yeah.
Berluti.
Really good job.
Thank you.
So why did you choose that costume for that premiere?
That was in collaboration with Dante McQueen, my great stylist and collaborator for the last couple of years. We wanted something structured and masculine, and I felt like really matched the tone of the Gilded Age, but also something so kind of modern and striking. And it was a hit at the party, and I felt Jack has been growing up throughout the show, and I feel like I've been growing up with him, and it's been cool to wearing Berluti at the premiere, especially that cut felt like a step in that progression of my maturing. Yeah.
And how did your relationship with Berluti start?
Last summer I came through for the cocktail party. Everyone was so welcoming and loved the Gilded Age. And, I think what's beautiful about the show too is there's such a respect within the fashion world because our costume designer Kasha is just unbelievably brilliant, and our costumes are the best costumes on television. And there was just such a warmth here that was very grounding for me, having that being my first fashion week, and so that connection felt very right, very fitting to continue to collaborate together.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this lovely conversation. We have a little ritual on this podcast.
Okay.
So as it's called Dans les pas deux.
Dans les pas deux.
Dans les pas deux.
Dans les pas deux.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. We always finish this podcast with one question, which basically is all about in the footsteps of. So I would need you to complete this sentence. You can say whatever you want, whatever feels right. To walk in Ben Ahlers' footsteps, you'll need... You can take your time.
You need good friends. Yeah.
It's so important.
Yeah, it's kind of the whole way through.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Maddie.
It was so lovely.
Yeah.
And enjoy your time in Paris.
I will. I'll see you in London.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You're going to London after.
Yeah. Great.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.